The incredible edible egg. Does that mean anything to you, Andrew? That jingle? It's in my
Is
head.
that from the Kinder Eggs?
Honestly, Andrew, I don't know. It's from my childhood, I think, but it's something that's been stuck in my head for, 25 years now. And every time I sing it, I'm like, what is that for? Because it's my understanding that eggs are generally edible. So what do we have a jingle for this now edible egg?
The incredible edible egg is a marketing slogan for the American Egg Board. What's the American Egg Board, you ask?
Is that just egg? Is that big
egg? It is
egg?
a United States checkoff marketing organization which focuses on marketing and promotion of eggs for human consumption.
What? So it's
basically,
just for eggs?
The incredible edible egg was an advertising slogan it created for eggs. Going back to 1974.
Back to 74. I mean, Got Milk was real big, obviously, in the 90s. It's like, I think some people say it's the most successful ad campaign of all time. And that's literally just milk. That's just an ad campaign for milk. It's like, it's big milk. And so
that was created for the California Milk Processor Board. Yeah, like
I didn't know there's Big Egg too. So I don't understand the incredible edible egg. Because eggs are edible, right? I mean, like, they're not doing anything special to these eggs to make them. I guess like they're not, Oh, we got a break in the case, Andrew.
I just watched a commercial. It's just a guy telling me how great eggs are,
and they're edible, incredible and edible. Did you know that eggs are edible? Eggs now edible.
Are there? I would assume there's maybe certain eggs from certain creatures that aren't edible that you wouldn't want to eat. Like, I don't know, like.
If I can buy it at the grocery
really
store,
I don't know.
It's gonna be edible. Whenever you said Kinder Egg at the beginning, is that the candy? Is that the chocolate egg?
Yeah, that's the chocolate eggs they banned here for a while. Like that.
Okay, so that made a little bit of sense because, like, you can eat the shell, you can eat the chocolate shell.
Even like a Cadbury egg, you can just eat the whole thing. Like that would be like I had assumed the incredible edible egg is like a candy egg thing because. You eat it. Like, I don't eat the shell of an egg. They're lying to me when they say the incredible edible egg. I'm not eating that whole thing. It's ridiculous.
Well, I hope we all learned
Wait, hold on. Now we have a different question.
Okay.
Have we talked about this before? Is the shell part of the egg?
Whoa. I don't think we've talked about this before.
I've heard this discussed somewhere before. I don't remember where. But it was a discussion. Is the shell part of the egg?
Well, my gut says yes. I mean, I'm notoriously like to be contrarian in these kind of things, but what's the argument for the shell not being part of the egg? It's called an eggshell.
Scrambled eggs doesn't have the shell in it?
Scrambled egg is the name of a dish.
But, like, you're scrambling the eggs. There's no shell there. They don't call it scrambled egg insides.
Yeah, when I have a banana smoothie, I don't put the banana peel in there, but it's still a banana smoothie.
Is the peel part of the banana?
Yes, the peel is part of the banana. It's a banana peel.
Is it, though? It's a banana peel, not a banana. Just like it's an egg shell, not an egg.
No, it's egg white, egg yolk, egg shell. They all have their own... The parts of it have their own name.
No, the yolk is part of the egg, though. And the white...
The egg shell is part of the egg.
That's like saying it's not... That's like describing my
Andrew, let me pause you right there. Are you taking the contrarian stance here?
No, I'm just asking questions.
Yeah, what do you believe, though? What do you believe, huh?
I don't believe anything, man. Life is pain. I believe that. Life is pain. And if you want to eat the eggshell, go to town. I ain't going to stop you.
I hope you end up on some... what's that Billy Eichner show? Billy on the Streets or whatever. Something like you're walking down the street and someone puts a microphone in your face and says, hey, is the eggshell part of the egg? And you say, I believe life is pain. And you just keep walking. I hope that happens for you one day, Andrew.
My favorite of those is he walks up to someone. It's this woman on her phone and he goes, ma'am, excuse me. You'll have to bleep this. Sorry. She goes, how does it feel to be a massive New York piece of shit? And she just looks dead at him and goes, it feels awesome. And just keeps walking.
Perfect response. Love it. Sometimes people rise to the occasion, Andrew.
Sometimes indeed they do, Chris.
Is the theme song part of the podcast?
We're not talking about the best of them. We're just talking about the rest of them.
Not the worst parts, but the best parts. And the best parts we have. The best of the rest.
Hello, and welcome to Best of the Rest. My name is Chris Logan, and I am joined as always by my willing co-host, Andrew Williams. Say something to the listeners, Andrew.
Wow, what a terrific audience.
Each week, we take a second look at a movie that was poorly received upon release and challenge ourselves to only talk about the things we like and what the movie does well. It's Nic Cage month, and this week we are talking the 2006 film, The Wicker Man. Andrew, we are ending this month with a bang. Tell me, what is your history with this movie?
Not extensive. If I don't, did I say I'd seen this before in previous weeks?
I think last week we
remember.
talked about it briefly at the end, and you said you had never seen it in full.
Okay,
Maybe some
good.
clips or memes.
If I did say I'd seen it, folks, I'm sorry, I was lying.
I was just trying to be cool last week. I'm sorry.
I was just trying to seem cool, like I was hip and had seen all these dumb things that made memes on the internet and they're aughts. But so no, I obviously you've seen like the not the bees and like the how to get burned. And like you've seen those scenes, and like obviously I knew it was a remake of Wicker Man. I have seen the original Wicker Man, not in a very long time. I was planning to watch it before I watched this. I didn't do that. I did import a 4K of the original Wicker Man that will be here by May 5th, supposedly. Just because I feel like that's one of those movies that I should just have on my shelf. But the United States hasn't gotten its own 4K of it yet. But and it's another movie that has like 7 cuts. Like there's the theatrical cut, there's a director's cut, there's a final cut. Like it's stupid. It's so dumb. To me, I don't understand the difference. Like, why is there a director's cut and a final cut? Because to me, those are the same thing. Like, the final cut is supposed to be
A final cut is
version.
director's cut part 2. It's like it's
right. Like it's like oh, here's
what
more.
movies
like,
have what movies have final cuts? Wicker Man, Blade Runner.
There was one
Ridley
recently
Scott.
that
Not Ridley Scott. Apocalypse Now has a final cut now.
Cut.
So all of those are cuts that release like at least a decade after its release, right?
Oh yeah, way later. Oh,
what
no,
is
I
Heat?
searched-
That one has a new one too, right? Is it the definitive cut?
That's
that
like
what
the
it calls it?
director's definitive edition or something.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
So would you say that term just means like I don't think any of these directors are pretending like this is the version I wished I could have put out there. It's always them like, hey, I revisited the material and actually I like this version now. You know what I mean?
I don't know though. I kind of feel like with like Blade Runner, the final cut, like Ridley Scott kind of was like, this is what I think it should have been, and like,
What was his?
he
He had a director's cut though, right?
He did. I don't know, man. They're the ones that do all these different cuts. I didn't make them do it. Like, I didn't do it. Like, like I don't.
Sometimes
know
it's pretty straightforward. Like Blade Runner, I say just watch the final cut. Like, and that's pretty simple. But like Apocalypse Now, like I never saw that movie until I bought that 4K set with the final cut. And I think there's 3 or 4 different versions, and the final cut is not the longest one. There's one, like I've read about the differences. I haven't watched all these versions yet, but that's a movie where it's like daunting. Well, do I watch theatrical? That's the one that made this a classic. Do I watch final because he says it's it gets.
I feel like Coppola lately has done a lot of like final cuts of sorts for
like
a
the
bunch
Godfather
of his movies. Like
3 becoming
like
Coda.
Godfather 3 just got like a recut where they called it like Coda. Like the Godfather, it's oh Jesus, what is this title? Mario Puzo's The Godfather Coda: The Death of Michael Corleone. That is legitimately the title. That is terrible.
But Sylvester Stallone did it with Rocky. Rocky 4. He released a cut called Rocky versus Drago. That's just
like
recut of
I
the
think
film.
Coppola also did one for the Cotton Club, and I think he called it the Cotton Club Encore. Like that was his recut of the Cotton Club. Like so it and don't get me wrong, like do whatever you want with your movies as long as you're not like scrubbing the old ones from existence. Looking at you, George Lucas, but like it always just is wild to me that they like. But I will say that you're typically correct that when Final Cut is used, it is genuinely a decades later revisiting of the film. And yeah, that's a weird thing. But anyway,
So the
Wicker
movie
Man
we're talking about
falls into that
today,
same thing.
which we've
Doesn't
gotten
have
away
one
from.
of those.
Well, we're talking about Wicker Man 2006, the remake, which has two versions. It's got a theatrical release and unrated. Now, as you and I were, looking in to cover this movie this week, it's kind of hard to buy these movies digitally, it seems, but you had a way to watch the unrated. So I said, hey, you know what? I'll rent theatrical. We'll watch the two different versions so we can have a little bit more perspective. Now, I had a bit of a hard time getting this movie, and it's not that interesting, but I'm going to tell you what happened. Anyway, I have well, let me back up a little bit. The first place I always go is Vudu, or Fandango at home, and they have two versions. They have the unrated and theatrical, neither available to buy or rent. But they're on there, but you have to have like a digital code or redeem it some other way. So then I go to Google because I've always got Google credits, and it's basically free for me to watch a movie there or rent a movie there. Now, I have a Sony TV that has the Android operating system. I can't remember if they call it Android TV or Google TV or whatever version, but it's all built in. Frustratingly, it used to have the Google Play movie store. It's even a button on my remote control that I click and it opens up the movie store, and it's got my library there and I can rent and buy movies. They did away with that app. Now it's all integrated and I just have to scroll to the shop tab and browse movies, but there's no search function, Andrew. There's no search. So what I have to do is search everything. There's a search option on the TV itself, and it looks like it searches across all streaming apps or whatever, not just the store where I want to rent it from. So I use that search function. It only finds the original Wicker Man. I'm getting frustrated at this point, so I go, you know what? I will rent it on my phone, and I'll just, once I have it in my Google account, I'll be able to play it on the TV, right? So I go to my phone. You can no longer get movies from the Google Play app. You have to use the Google TV app. So I download that to my phone. I search Wicker Man, get no results, or don't get the results for the Nic Cage version. I have to type in, folks, Wicker Man Nic Cage. And then I see it right there. Only one version. It just says the Wicker Man 2006. And I rent it on my phone. I have to cast it to my TV because I still can't find it on the TV. It fails casting like 3 times. This was a frustrating experience, but I watched the movie, Andrew. Now you got the unrated version for sure. Like your digital cover says unrated version. And the whole thing is it has an alternate ending, right? So we watched the movie.
Yeah.
We don't discuss it too much because we wait for the podcast, but come to find out, I also watched the unrated version. Despite I sent you the screenshots of what I rented. It there's no reason it should have been anything but the theatrical version.
Yes. Because there are some key there's really, because I was a little curious what was different, because the unrated version is like a minute longer. I think that's
shorter.
That's it. Is that
according
shorter?
to Voodoo, it's shorter. Yeah.
Yes, I understand that now. I understand how it would be knowing the difference. So, according to the Wikipedia, which is what I was mostly using as my basis here, the movie is almost completely the same right until the ending, and even then, there's only one aspect of the ending that's different, and it's the bees scene. That is apparently that is split in before they take him to the Wicker Man,
which is wild to me. I should say, sorry, real quick. My history of the movie is I did see it in theaters, and whatever, I didn't care for it, and I never watched it again. It became a meme. But in my brain, I remember seeing the bees in theaters, but apparently that was not possible, not the case. And I just added that scene to the movie because I saw the memes or something.
And it may be that, like, when you rent it or buy it, like, that's just the version that everybody sees now. Now, the only big key difference after that is there is an epilogue scene that's placed 6 months later that features two of the characters interacting with two guys at a bar, oddly played by James Franco and Jason Ritter.
All right, that's another thing. I mean, we're getting way ahead here, but
We are, but
I was looking at the cast and I saw Aaron Eckhart and Jason Ritter and James Franco, and I was like, did I miss a ton of cameos in that early scene? But no, it's a deleted post.
no, you did miss Aaron Eckhart. You did miss Aaron Eckhart.
Oh, Aaron Eckhart is in the
scene.
movie. Okay.
He's literally at the counter. He's the guy that like throws the money down and leaves right at the beginning.
Okay.
I don't know why he does this part. I don't know.
Well, he had
why
worked
he's in
with
this
our
movie
director
for 4
previously,
seconds.
so I'm guessing.
I guess just a fun cameo, I
Yeah.
guess. But and then James Franco and Jason Ritter are the guys that are in the bar at this kind of post-credit scene. And the whole hook of that scene is I think it's Willow and Honey are just like roping in the next set of men to line up to be sacrificed. But that scene is several minutes long. And so if you cut that and just add in the bees, I do understand how you then end up with a shorter runtime.
So those are the
Anyway.
versions. We both watched the what is called the unrated version, which I
did watch the
see-
bar scene. I did find it on YouTube and watched it. It's
Okay.
exactly what you think it is.
Well, there we go. Now we're all caught up. Let's set the stage and then dive into this movie. The movie is released November 1st, 2006. It's made on a budget of $40 million at the box office. Only brings in $38.8 million, just short of its production budget. It is a flop. Critically, it is panned. It holds just a 15% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes, with many critics citing, I think there's two big things. One, unintentionally comedic gets thrown around a lot. And the other big thing is it's compared unfavorably to the original, which that's the kind of comparison you're asking for when you remake a movie, especially a horror movie. The audience score is almost exactly the same, a 17% audience score. So this is not a movie that people are saying we got wrong or need to revisit or whatever else. It became a meme, and that's the movie's legacy, is its absurdity. And I'm going to stick with unintentional comedy. I did notice that Wikipedia calls it like a black comedy or satirical comedy or something, but that is, I think, revisionist history and was not the original goal of the creators.
I agree. I think it's kind of like The Room. It's kind of like Tommy Wiseau saying The Room was always meant to be funny, and it's like, no, it wasn't. Like, you just embraced it. Don't get me wrong. Roll with it by all means. Like, embrace the legacy as it is. I'm not going to fault you for doing that. But like, yeah, calling The Wicker Man a black comedy horror film feels like you're definitely just trying to buy in on the hype, which is, you and I kind of talked about this, that like, we'll save it for later. We'll save that discussion for later. But yeah, I definitely don't agree. Even having watched the film, I would still never describe this in any way as comedic necessarily.
No,
Like-
absolutely not.
Absolutely not. So,
Take a look at the creative team. It is written and directed by Neil LaBute. Now, before this, he was a playwright, and in fact, his feature film debut was In the Company of Men, which is based on his own play, and stars Aaron Eckhart, as well as his follow-up, Your Friends and Neighbors. So I think that's where that relationship begins. Highest profile thing, I think, before this is maybe Nurse Betty. I remember that being a mild hit in my brain. Does The Wicker Man and continues working to this day. Lots of thrillers that I have never heard of. Movies like Dirty Weekend, Out of the Blue, Fear of the Night. All supernatural thrillers that, I'll be honest, I looked at the Rotten Tomatoes. They don't seem to be faring much better with critics than The Wicker Man did, but the man hasn't lost his ability to work, which is good.
yeah. It was interesting looking at his career. I remember like some of these movies that he's made. Like, I remember when Lakeview Terrace came out, about like the weird Samuel L. Jackson is like the overreaching police officer. I think it's Patrick Wilson is in that one, maybe. Yeah, and Kerry Washington. And Death at a Funeral, which is a remake of the Frank Oz film, but that was the one starring Danny Glover and Chris Rock and a whole bunch of others. So some interesting. So this is about a time where like he's getting into like a decent, obviously working steadily with some big names. Several movies that are based off his own plays. I think he's done 3 that are based off his own plays, which double bubble, dude, get paid. I would support it. But yeah, like you said, still out there. Just had 2 movies come out in 22. Had a movie come out in 23 called Fear the Night, starring Maggie Q, which sounds like a movie where she beats people up. So I might
Fear
be down
the
for
Q.
that. Yeah, exactly. There's a bit in this TV show I like called Happy Endings, where these guys are talking about like movies they like tough guy movies they like, and the guy's like, yeah, or something with Tia Leone, and they all look at him kind of crazy. He's like, what? I like my bad boys with vaginas. But that's how I feel like a Maggie Q thriller is. But yeah, interesting career to say the least, though. Like coming out as being a playwright and then kind of ending up with the, like you said, all the more power to him. But definitely some interesting choices here. And he is our screenwriter here as well. So obviously, that script is based off of a variety of different things. Obviously, the original Wicker Man was written by a gentleman named Anthony Schaefer. And then obviously they all are sort of based off this novel Ritual by a gentleman named David Pinner, who actually has a whole series of... apparently there are a couple of books in that series that kind of tie into those same themes and characters. But it's obviously the story is not something wholly original just because it's based off of previous stuff, and then that previous stuff is based off a book. So there's a lot of different layers there. But he is given sole screenwriting credit here, so it is his thing, top to bottom.
Well, Andrew, nothing left to do now except jump into this film. All the positives, everything we like about The Wicker Man. Andrew, you ready?
Yes.
After witnessing a seemingly fatal car crash, police officer Edward Malice takes a leave from his job. But when he receives a letter from his ex-fiancée, he visits the isolated island where she lives to help find her missing daughter. He finds that the community on the island is mostly women, and they don't take kindly to strangers. Edward learns that not only is the young girl he is looking for his own daughter, but the community blames her for the failed crops. Suspecting they may be planning to sacrifice her, he races to find her first and somehow escape the island. I like it.
Classic story.
Man gets lured
Classic story of man meets woman, man falls in love with woman gets pregnant by the man, then runs away back to her cult, and then summons that man there 8 years later to use him as a basis for a sacrifice. This is a tale as old as time.
Yeah, I think it's a Bible story like this.
Several.
Yeah, there's a lot of sacrifices in the Bible. I said that as a joke, but this is pretty similar to a lot of stuff in the Bible. All right, Andrew, let's before we get too far into the metaphor weeds here, let's talk about this cast. And we're going to start with the high point, best casting, best performance of the movie, because every episode we recognize one person who goes so far above and beyond the call of duty that they actually elevate the quality of the entire film with their performance, and we recognize that person by giving them the Mark Strong Award. Andrew, kick us off. Who is getting your Mark Strong Award for The Wicker Man?
It's obviously Aaron Eckhart as Truck Stop Patron.
The way he throws those
bills down is just, there's a conviction and an authority that just, you can't teach that, folks.
And that's jawline. I mean, that's winning a Mark Strong Award in any movie it shows up.
It's
He could not have played Batman because it's the Val Kilmer problem.
It would be like, the Val Kilmer problem. I was trying to think of a way to bring that up. I was genuinely trying to be like him playing Batman is the same problem Val Kilmer has. The lips are so unique, and then his chin.
It's the most distinctive feature of him. Yeah.
Jump down, and you'd be like, "Oh, it's Aaron Eckhart," and he'd be like, "How'd you know?" And he'd be like, "I see your chin, man. Like, nobody else has that chin." But no, obviously, I'm just kidding. He's in the movie literally 5 seconds. This is a little interesting because Nic Cage's character is obviously our driving force. Like, most of the action and everything on the island is driven by his performance. But I am going to go against the grain a little bit here. And I am going to be going with Ellen Burstyn as Sister Summerisle as my Mark Strong of the Wicker Man.
Great pick. I'm clapping on a podcast. Never a good idea, but I salute this.
But I think, obviously, Ellen Burstyn is this legendary actor. She's got this massive, decades-long career. She's got an Academy Award, a Tony, 2 Emmy Awards. She also has a BAFTA and a Golden Globe. She just needs the Grammy to get the EGOT. She's 92, so she better hurry up. But obviously, probably known by most as the mother from the original Exorcist. And her character's name in that movie was... Oh, God. Why have I forgotten?
I'm literally watching your brain race your computer, and it's fascinating, Andrew. Which one's going to come up with it first?
It's not great. This is terrible. She plays Chris McNeil. There it is. I knew it was a name not typically associated with a woman. I just didn't remember it was your name. So obviously a role that she is very known for, probably her most iconic role. But she's got tons of just amazing performances, stuff like The Last Picture Show, Same Time Next Year. She's even in Requiem for a Dream, which is a movie I'm never going to watch again. But
a movie I've seen a million times in high school, but now we'll probably never watch again.
Yeah, we'll probably never watch again. Just tons of great stuff. Even was in Interstellar.
She's Elliot Stabler's mom in the Law and Order universe. I think we've talked about. We've never officially talked about her before, right? But I feel like we've praised Ellen. We found a reason to praise Ellen Burstyn for some reason.
We talked about what's his face Stabler when we did Wet Hot American Summer. So maybe that was it. I don't remember.
I just couldn't help myself.
Yeah, she's also in The King of Marvin Gardens, which is a really great film with Jack Nicholson and Bruce Dern, set in 1972, or come out in 1972, rather, directed by Bob Rafelson, one of his Raybert BBS production films, including the stuff they did like Easy Rider. But anyway, she just has this legendary career that speaks for itself. All the various things she's done. Is she an alum of the show? Now I'm freaking out. Like, if we talked about her in some other reason. No, I don't think we've talked about her before. But I would assume talking about Stabler is how we did that. But have we done any of the Exorcist sequels?
No, I don't think we've talked about her before.
No. There's a whole month there we could do, but I don't know if I'm up for that. But anyway, so she plays kind of a gender-flipped version. In the original version of this film, it is Lord Summerisle, played very iconically by Christopher Lee, in a performance that he often cited as possibly one of the best of his career. So that adds a whole different layer to this cult in the original film, obviously, that a man sits at the top of it. So a lot of the stuff in that film takes on very different layers. Whereas by flipping that to being Sister Summerisle and having her be the mother of Willow, as it is revealed, it is a much different take on that. Not, so different it doesn't, line up largely the same, but adds different ripples. But there's this sinister undertone, because we don't see this character for a lot of the movie. And she shows up about halfway through, and we get the first sequence. It's right after Nicolas Cage gets stung by the bees and kind of passes out. He kind of awakens in her home, and they end up having the first conversation, and then she kind of features more heavily throughout the film as we get towards the end. And she's just not at all bothered by Nic Cage's presence at all. And there's been this this sense that Nic Cage's presence in itself is unsettling to these people. That obviously he's not part of this community, he doesn't belong here, he shouldn't be here, blah, blah, blah. And she's the first one that kind of doesn't really give an inch to Nic Cage, especially as he's kind of making threats and saying, this is an investigation, there's a missing girl, blah, blah, blah. She's not threatened by this at all. She doesn't care. And obviously you realize later it's because there's a bigger plan here that Nicolas Cage doesn't understand. But throughout that calmness she has in Nic Cage, there is this deep kind of sinister undertone that flows through all of it. Until it eventually, obviously, is the sinister motivations are revealed. But the way she plays this character, I think, is understated. It's perfect for this version of this film. It has the right mix of, like, charisma. Obviously, she sits atop this cult, so this person has to portray the energy that brings people in, while still having that sinister undertone, because something is off with this group from the moment he gets here. So you have to have all these different pieces playing together, and obviously she is up to that task at every turn. And so Sister Summer Isle, Ellen Burstyn, Mark Strong of 2006's The Wicker Man.
Andrew, I think this is an excellent pick. I love this casting. I love this performance. It's such an important role because this character gets built up so much before we actually meet her. All the other people talk about Sister Summer Isle and how everything goes through her, and she's clearly the boss and everything's planned. And so when we finally meet her, it's almost disarming how relaxed she is and not authoritative or menacing as we might expect. So much so, like, it throws Nic Cage off, because as Nic Cage is interrogating all these other women, they're all like talking in circles and almost talking in riddles and saying things that don't make sense. But she is so straightforward, it almost doesn't register. Like, the very first thing is like, hey, I want permission to exhume this grave because I suspect, foul play. And she's like, oh, well, yeah, you could do that. And he's like, you don't seem bothered by that. She's like, no, because I know you won't find anything wrong. And they had this whole dialogue as they walk around the village. And then at the very end, he's so frustrated that he's screaming, and he's like, can I dig up the grave? And she's like, I thought I already told you could. Like, and she had. Like, she totally did. But, like, it almost doesn't even click with him that she is just completely giving him permission to do whatever the heck he wants in his investigation. It's disarming how relaxed she is. And for this role, I mean, not a ton of screen time, which kind of surprising because you get such a big name like Ellen Burstyn, but it's so important for this person to have that presence. So, they've been built up so much. As soon as you see them, you have to know that, like, oh yeah, they're in control. They have power. They have to bring charisma, as you said. They've got to bring, there's like a real specific word we could use here to describe what Ellen Burstyn is bringing to the screen. Hey, Andrew, what word am I looking for?
Gravitas.
Yes, perfect way to describe this performance. And Andrew, it's great. I strongly considered this in the Mark Strong Awards. I'm so glad that you're going this direction. I'm going to reserve it for someone else. Mainly, I don't know. Maybe it was the amount of screen time that talked me out of it. But for me, I'm giving it to Nic Cage. He's in virtually every scene. He's the driving force of this film. And as we reach the end of Nic Cage month, I sort of want to use this performance to make sort of a grand statement about Nic Cage. Is, as we've been going week to week, we've kind of been tracking the Nic Cage isms and his manic moments. And, oh, when's the freak out? How much does he freak out? And when does he go there? This movie is almost notorious for its full Nic Cage moments, quote unquote. And having only seen it once, way back in theaters, I was expecting so much unhinged, uncaged Cage. But honestly, aside from those two clips that you always see out of context, it's pretty straightforward. And I'm not saying it's bad or it's just, it's nothing, quote unquote, signature Nic Cage, or we kind of think to be signature Nic Cage if you're just looking at the over the top stuff. And I want to settle this once and for all, because we've referenced that Community scene so much, and normally we just reapply it to John Travolta, which remains unsettled for me. But in case I haven't said it directly before, the whole Community scene is based around, is Nic Cage a good actor? Yes, like emphatically, yes. I think he's fantastic. I think he's very good. And just because you've got moments where he goes full tilt or whatever, has nothing to do with that, his acting ability. And it's rare, maybe never, in this guy's opinion, that his quote-unquote Nic Cage moments are a detriment to the film or take me out of it or make the movie worse. I think they always work within the context of the movie. Even watching this movie, and I know the scenes, I know what they're going to be, when I'm thinking about the character and what he's gone through to make it to that moment, nothing about the decisions Nic Cage makes make me go, well, wow, why did he make this decision? Why is he doing that? Like it fits in pretty perfectly with this man losing his mind in this investigation and being messed with this cult. And maybe this podcast has changed me as a person, Andrew, but I don't find quote unquote unintentional comedy in this movie. Like when I watched it, I'm not like laughing at it like Vampire's Kiss. It's not like Vampire's Kiss at all. I love Vampire's Kiss. It's a blast, but man, I'm laughing at the absurdity. And maybe I'm making a grander statement about this movie. It kind of works for me. Like Andrew, I like this movie just fine. Like I didn't think it was garbage. We can circle back to that because we're just talking about Nic Cage right now. But I know that was a big rant. But look, it's we've been talking Nic Cage for 5 weeks now. But
I think Nic Cage is a good actor, and I think the decline in quality of the film season has more to do with personal circumstance than anything. Because obviously he's gotten acclaim in recent years for stuff like Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent or Dream Scenario or Long Legs or even before with stuff like Mandy. But so there's always been these moments where like Nic Cage is going in and giving these great performances, but obviously he's doing a lot of very low budget movies, a lot of straight to streaming movies that he's just trying to get a paycheck to get himself solvent financially, which he claims at this point he largely has completed and done. So he can kind of just start doing, he can start going back to some prestige projects like National Treasure 3. I'm still waiting, bud. But I don't think there's any question that Nic Cage is a good actor. Like, I think there are genuinely great performances in his history that speak for themselves. You look back to stuff like Raising Arizona. That was an early performance even before the Cageisms really became a thing. That clearly shows you this man has it in him. Then you take that through the 80s into the 90s with stuff like Wild at Heart or obviously Moonstruck in the late 80s, and then into the 90s, into the 2000s. Yeah, he's a great actor. No question. Now, I think we'll obviously talk more about this movie in a bit. This movie is played deceptively straightforward. The legacy of this movie would have you think this man is running around this island wailing at all times. Like, that's what the legacy of Wicker Man suggests. Nic Cage is basically spending this whole movie going, ah!
Yeah.
Like, that almost sounded like Arnold. My mistake. But but like, it's this thing where, like, when I was watching it, I was kind of like, you get well over into an hour. It's only like an hour and 40 minutes long. But like, you're well over an hour before you even see the first scene that like hints at some Cageisms. And it's pretty much that scene where he finds the burned doll. Like, before that, there's some like energetic moments, but nothing that I wouldn't think lines up with what you would expect a cop to be finding when he's investigating a missing girl in the middle of a cult. Like,
yeah,
none of it's that strange. Like, when he's like at the schoolhouse and he's like, where's the roster? And he starts digging around and looking for it. Like, yeah, this, like, he thinks there's a girl missing. Like, why wouldn't he be, invested in that? And so and even the scene where like he gets attacked by the bees for the first time, I'm like, this man's allergic to bees. He's getting attacked by them. You're going to react to that. Like, you're going to have a
in
moment.
more ways than one. Yes, you got to react.
Right. And so, so it's interesting the legacy the movie has versus the reality of it. I think we can talk a little bit more about the general reception of it later, but I think most of this reception is just simply because you have to compare it to the original. And I'm guessing you haven't seen the original. Just
I have not. I would like to though.
So yeah.
After
I do suggest it. You'll probably watch it once and then never again. But I think this is definitely a situation where if you're watching this cold with no greater context, I think you would be like, yeah, this is at least fine. I think living in the shadow of the original is what kind of causes most of the issues. People are like, okay, doesn't really justify its own existence, which people use a lot when talking about remakes. It's not really changing things up that much. And so it's kind of like the Carrie remake. Like the Carrie remake on a personal level, when you watch it, you're like, this is perfectly fine. But it's not doing anything that differently from what we did the first time. So it's kind of like, okay, well, why do it then? But I think that's largely this film's reception is you've got 3 scenes with Nic Cage, basically, and then the fact that it's a remake. But so Nic Cage, I think getting your mark strong for this is a good pick. I think he's obviously, the only other competition that's really in the running for it. #PP. Not to disparage anybody else, but nobody else is really given a whole lot. And even Ellen Burstyn is still not given as much as Nic Cage is. Like, Nic Cage is the driving force of this film, by all means. He is the driving force of the plot. He is the driving force of everything that happens here, which is all part of the plot, Andrew. Jesus. And he's giving a genuinely understated performance for the most part. Like, obviously, there's a little bit of mania creeping under, and then obviously there's the realization, too, that as you get deeper and deeper into the movie, you have no idea what these people have been doing to him. Like, what has he been injected with? What has he been eating? Like, what have they been, like, even from the moment he gets there, the minute they give him the mead that he drinks, like, it's a really good chance that from the moment he got to this island, he's been getting basically drugged, for lack of a better way to put it. And so you put all that together, and I'm like, yeah, that would make anybody a little unhinged, or a lot unhinged. But I think this is a good performance. I don't think the movie is quote unquote bad because of what Nic Cage is doing here, and because literally at the end of the day, there are maybe 3 scenes where he's kind of unhinged, and in one of those he's being burned alive. So I too would be kind of unhinged if I were being burned alive.
Yeah.
And so, like, in that regard, it is interesting because the legacy of this movie definitely makes you think he's running around the island wailing the whole time, and he's just not. He's investigating this with a cult that definitely doesn't want him to. Or do they?
Kate Bahan plays Sister Willow. This is his ex-fiancée that lures him to the island under what we learn are false pretenses. Now, this is interesting. So, all the women on this island are intentionally very vague and not being straightforward with him, which is, I guess, what vague means, and talking in circles. She is kind of still doing that, but constantly being like, look, you can't trust anybody else. Just trust me. I can't tell you everything, but trust me. I know something's going on. I know she's missing. And definitely using his, he clearly shows feelings for her, using that against him. And they even kind of start to rekindle a relationship. Maybe he gets that impression before the end and the big reveal. And gosh, by this point in the podcast, you probably know what happens at the end there. So she ends up being a bad person, I would say. I'll go ahead and say that. But the #PP, the biggest thing for me, and when it's like, oh, it's his ex-fiancée, is that woman is a full 10 years younger than him, which is, look, it's okay. Like, I know that happens in the real world, but you see it so much in movies. And plus, you start doing the math. Well, she's like way younger than him now, but they were clearly together like 10 years before this, and you can kind of get lost in the sauce doing that. But I think she plays it well. I mean, she has a big turn to play in a way that most other characters, most other women on the island do not, because we're thinking all these other women are antagonistic and possibly evil, and they are. But she is trying to convince us, right along with Nicolas Cage, that she is actually maybe captive there, or not part of the plan, or suspicious of them. But in the end, actually, I really love how she plays the final scenes, where she almost seems tearful, but it's not. It's like tears of joy. Like, you start wondering, like, oh, is she like feeling a tinge of regret? Was it hard for her? But no, she's just like, happy that the plan worked and her daughter gets to witness it. It's very sick if you think about it, which
Oh, it's
I
extremely
love.
twisted. I mean, the whole thing is messed up. Like,
Yeah.
this whole plot of this movie is simply to get Nicolas Cage to come to this island so that they can sacrifice him to restore their crop yield. It's all for honey, but it's something where she's playing it as like, I have to go along with this. I have to do this. There's this. But then, like, in your brain, you can kind of start thinking throughout the course of the movie too. It's like, okay, well, like, you were out and you came back, and like it doesn't really add up, which is something Nicolas Cage starts to question a little bit. But then as he thinks he's getting more clues, as he thinks he's getting closer to figuring it out, he kind of flips. And then, like you said, there's that big reveal at the end that it was all a plan. The entire thing, from like meeting Nic Cage to having his child to running back to the cult to everything, then eventually calling him back to the island, it was always a plan. Now, the question that a lot of people ask is, or a lot of people, but obviously the question is like, is there, like, it sounds like basically every year they go out, do this to some men, and then they just bring them to the island every year for the sake of this sacrifice that basically they do to the gods for their crop and their harvest. And he's just the next in line. So it really is just a situation where it's his. This has literally just been planned forever, as Ellen Burstyn's character says. She's like, "This, your destiny was written long ago," and it just raises the question: does everybody just go? And maybe, I guess that's why they target police officers, because they feel like there would be that like inherent desire to help or solve the mystery or solve the crime. And so they're drawn in for that reason. But,
well, in the version I watched, I only saw one person get lured in, so I don't know if there's a pattern or not. But
in the epilogue, it is established James Franco's character just left the police academy. So
interesting.
In that regard, they're establishing a bit of a pattern, and I don't know if it's because they think that cops will just inherently want to do this, but yeah, the unrated ditches the idea that this is something they've done before or will do again. The theatrical very much suggests that they are planning to do this again, or may already, or that it's a process, or however have you.
My read was that every woman has to take a trip out of this island because they have to get impregnated, and there's not really men living there. And then they come back with a child. And if they need a sacrifice, which doesn't seem to be every year, that's just like an easy person to pull back in as someone that has a relationship with you. You can go back and lower them in. That's how I read it. So I haven't seen that extended, or I guess I did when I saw this in theaters, but I think that's almost unnecessary. Just like a trope of horror films where it's like, and it's going to continue. I like it more closed off, and like this is a more isolated incident, or at least not something that they do every single year.
Yeah, and the cut-off ending mirrors the original film versus the notion that this is going to be a continuing thing. At the end of the original film is more in line with that versus the kind of setting it up that we're going to keep doing this process.
Lily Sobieski is in this movie as Sister Honey, alum of the show. We got to speak about her way back on our Deep Impact episode. And an actor I remember a lot because she has just a distinct look, a distinct face. And that's a big deal for me because I'm very bad with faces, which makes a lot of this movie difficult for me, especially the little girls, which it's kind of the point. They're trying to trip you up on everyone looking the same, but I was wondering if this is a me problem or intentional by the movie for a lot of this. But I really like Lily and everything I've seen her in. The Glass House might have been like her most high profile, or because she's like the lead of that. And I love talking about how she is what I would consider a success story as far as young actors go, because she retired from acting in 2012. She got out. You love to see it. You love to see someone do their thing and then move on to a more normal life, which it seems that she has done. So Great for her. I love her character here, just like all these other women. She is messing with his head, and she does it by. She reminds me of like that guy in Get Out, because she almost, like, whenever she's alone with Nic Cage, pleads him that she's like, when you leave, can you take me with you? And you start to wonder, like, is she held here against her will? Is there something going on? But no, she's all in. She's just as evil as the rest of them. She's just playing those mind games.
In the unseen theatrical ending, that's the line she says to James Franco. Like, she's like, when you leave here, where are you going to go? And he's like, oh, just back to, like, my apartment. And she's like, when you leave here, can you take me with you? So I guess it's their pickup line, I guess. But
awfully forward.
I guess it works. Awful forward, yeah.
She just gets arrested for propositioning a police officer.
that sends this series down a much different path. Like, the cult has to show up to court and, like, argue its case. Like, it's like, she wasn't actually trying to do that, officer, Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the audience. But it's a good performance. A little not a whole lot here, pretty understated, but yeah, she definitely adds more layers to that notion of, like, is everybody here on board with this? Is everybody here good with what's happening? And then obviously at the end, just revealing that no, this is all part of the plan, and she was in on it the whole time. But she adds some interesting ripples to that for just a hot minute there, and then ultimately attacks Nic Cage too. So,
Andrew, is there any other sisters you want to shout out while we're looking at the cast, or should we move on to scenes?
Well, I do want to shout out Frances Conroy as Dr. T.H. Moss. Frances Conroy, just another legendary actor. Been acting for a long time, but she joins as this. Her career goes all the way back to the late 70s, I think, but she's playing this. It's Dr. T.H. Moss. She's this photographer that Nic Cage knows of for some reason before he goes into that. But so she's kind of this other, like, elder of the commune that seems to buy into their concept. She takes all the photos of all the harvest festivals and is another one that feels like Nic Cage feels like he's getting information from, and he's actually able to get stuff to help him with his case. And then ultimately, again, she's just in on it with everybody else. But just, again, another small performance. I thought this was Sister Summer Isle at first, and then they were like, no. He's like, oh, you're Dr. Moss, the photographer. And I was like, are we supposed to know who that is? But
yeah, I was doing that a lot, for sure.
And then, so just another understated performance, but again, adds those ripples of just, there's maybe some question here, but then ultimately she's part of the main group. And then I do also want to shout out Diane Delano.
Oh, I just want to say, she is an alum of the show.
Frances
You remember
Conroy,
what movie, Andrew?
Sure. Oh, God. What is it?
Catwoman. She's Ophelia Powers. She explains the cat lady powers to Halle Berry in that movie.
That's right. Yes. And then the last one I do want to shout out is Diane Delano, who plays Sister Beach, and she's like the innkeeper that just, like, receives Nic Cage when he first shows up on the island and lets him set up in a room. She is very, very standoffish of him, doesn't seem to trust him, and then ultimately, she's R.I.P. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but she passed away fairly recently of
just December of last year, cancer. But that's unfortunate. But again, just adding to that sinister undertone of the island. She never really hides it. She never really presents any alternative that she's kind of in on this or willing to help. She just is pretty much always untrustworthy of Nic Cage from the beginning, but it just adds more to those layers of those layers upon layers.
Well, Andrew, it's time that we talk about this movie, specifically the best scene, or at least our personal favorite. So in your opinion, Andrew, when is this movie firing on all cylinders? What is the best scene of The Wicker Man?
For me, it's definitely got to be.
What's it gotta be,
I think-
Andrew?
It's the reveal. To me, it's the reveal that all of this was the plan.
I was just
The
emphasizing
bee-
the word "be."
The bee, the bees. That's where I'm going. So obviously the movie is unfolding. We get to this moment where we find out that they are going to be sacrificing Rowan, and Nic Cage is like snuck in a bear costume, and he is like, and he finds Willow, and he's like, I got it, and he like runs ahead, grabs Rowan, and runs off into the woods, and is trying to save her. And then they run through the woods, and he keeps telling her to wait up. And then they kind of emerge from the woods, and she just runs straight back at the group. Sister Summer Isle is front and center. She's got Willow next to her with a bunch of her others, including Sister Rose, played by Molly Parker. Also Sister Thorne. She plays both of them. Get it? Rose Thorne. They must be huge Poison fans. That's what I gathered from this.
Very good. Very good.
But she's the school teacher. She's another one adding to the kind of sinister undertones here in dual roles. But runs back up to the group, runs up to Willow, and Nic Cage is like, no, stop. Like he doesn't understand. And then the group just starts like circling around him, and they start pushing in. And then this is when it's revealed that no, this is all part of the plan. You've been brought here on purpose. And tough luck, guy. So they overwhelm him. They take him down. In the unrated version, they have a bunch of bees put him into like a coma because he's allergic to them, and then they stab him with adrenaline to keep him alive. He tries to shoot at some of them with his gun. They took the bullets out of his gun. Like at this point, the setup is real. And then he gets marched off to the Wicker Man, and that leads to our big finale. But this moment, the confusion that he has, the kind of manic energy that comes in here, all of this doesn't feel comedic to me or over the top even. Like none of it's really comedic. It's just over the top to the point that it's kind of comedic. But in this moment, like,
I mean, if you're
like,
allergic to bees, okay, and someone puts a basket over your head and then pours bees in it, what are you gonna do? Now, I understand.
You're gonna go, not the bees. Ah,
exactly. Now I understand. Like you take
they're
that
in
out
my
of context,
eyes.
you clip it. I understand how it becomes a funny meme, and it's like it's just like Brad Pitt in Seven saying, "What's in the box? What's in the
What's
people
in the
make
box?"
People make fun of that all the time. That's kind of a meme, on its
You guys
own.
understand his wife's head is in there, right? Like, you can't,
Well, yeah, in
it's one of those
context.
things where it's like,
In context, I don't think anybody's laughing at that scene. Or maybe either scene. I don't know if people watch this movie. Like I would. This movie has such a strong legacy that. Oh, I would think most people that say, "Oh yeah, the Wicker Man, that's ridiculous. That's garbage. It's that silly bee movie." Most people probably haven't seen it, and I'm not trying to make some grand stand here. Well, if you actually saw the movie, you would actually like it. If you don't like this movie, I'm not gonna fight with you. Like whatever. Like this isn't like The Village where I'm trying to tell everybody that they got it wrong and they need to actually watch it again.
right?
Wicker Man, it is what it is. If you like it, if you don't, whatever. I enjoyed it, but it's just.
Go ahead.
It's just, the legacy doesn't exactly match with what it is. Like you might watch this and make, oh, it doesn't work for me. I don't like it. That's fine, but it's not. Oh, that's where Nic Cage just goes wild for no reason, and that's what It's not that.
Like I said, like the legacy of this movie would suggest that he's just running around the island screaming the whole time, basically.
Yeah.
Like, but he's not. Like this is the kind of like. It's the kind of thing where like if someone told me, oh yeah, this is the movie me and my friends would turn on. And like when we were in college and we were drunk and we wanted to make fun of something, and I was like, "So do you wait 70 minutes to start making fun of stuff?" Because that doesn't just seem that fun to me. Like it's another one of those ones where like they're like, "Oh man, this was like a staple of." I was like, it just doesn't feel like there's that much to make fun of outside ultimately like 2.5 scenes, and even the ending when like he's burning alive. Sorry, spoilers. Like I don't even really think that's on the same level as the other two. Like it's. Because it's clearly a man being burned alive. Like, there's no... I think you're allowed to have some manic energy in that moment.
You're going a little big there, Nic Cage. You're just dying. You're just desperately fighting for your life.
Only burning alive, man. No big deal. But that's what's so interesting to me about watching it back, is just that, like, for 70 minutes, this is just Nic Cage investigating this island in a pretty straightforward way. And like you said, it's fine. Like... there's nothing like, maybe not the best type of movie like this ever made, but like, especially if you have no frame of reference with the original, then yeah, like, I don't think you're going to struggle with it. But then you've got the scene where he finds a burned up doll, like he digs up what he thinks is Rowan's grave, and he finds this burned up doll, and
he's been
then he has these
he's been digging for answers this entire movie. No one's giving them to him. He thinks he has like the smoking gun, and he just needs a little bit of information. That's what leads to how to get burned. And
especially when you think about the fact that like he's purposely being messed with. God knows what they've been putting into his system as far as, drugging him or whatever. And so, like, to me, none of this seems that strange.
Yeah,
I think
he
we're
knows
way
it's
off
his
track.
daughter,
What was your
and
favorite scene?
so, yeah. But there's a pin a bow on that. He knows it's his daughter. He thinks she may have been burned alive, and he wants to know how this got burned. Is it because you killed her? I mean, come on, people. My favorite scene. Well, let's stay here a little bit because my favorite scene is right around here. But they break his legs with a sledgehammer. Did you mention that? They put his legs over like this log, and they just break them the wrong direction, presumably so he can't run away. And that's, right after that, just to add insult to injury, they put the basket on his head and pour the bees in and then keep him alive with the adrenaline. It's so wild. Like, the sacrifice is more meaningful if he's tortured. I don't know exactly why they have to torture him so much, but it's, I think the whole point of this is supposed to be like hard to watch. And, it is, it's pretty gnarly what they do, especially those leg breaks. And as he's like being held down and fighting for his life, Andrew, I'm an evolved man. Okay. I would never call a woman, a bitch, but I think I can forgive him in this scenario as he's yelling at these women.
Bitches!
Andrew, how appropriate is it that he's calling them all the B word?
You got there.
I got there. Was it worth the walk? I don't know. That joke is literally in my notes. I know I mentioned sometimes I make jokes and they're not for the attention, but I had to make sure that I remembered to say that on the podcast.
I respect it.
Sound off in the comments if it was worth it. Yeah, it's gnarly. I'm gonna rewind a little bit for my favorite. I want to get real specific, but it's also like in this climax as we're racing to the grand finale. He's gotten to the point where he knows, like, it's do or die. It's the festival is about to start. This is where she gets sacrificed. He needs to find this little girl, and he has just run out of patience. I love when he comes down from his room where he's staying down into the bar, and there's the bar wench there, Sister Beach, played by Diane Delano, as we mentioned, and she mouths off to him. She's been like sarcastic and mean to him the whole time. And he doesn't say anything. He just walks up to her. There's like a good 3 seconds where he's just staring her down. And you can feel the anticipation. Is he going to do it? Bam! Just across. Just right in the face. Just punches her. And I guess let me think. Is this intentionally funny or unintentionally funny? I laughed. I loved, like, it's, again, going back to the B word, like, the movie's got to do a lot of work where a man could punch a woman in the face, and I think it's funny. But I think it's just so cathartic. It's such a release because he's been toyed with this entire time that he's like had enough. And the movie's about to get very violent towards him. I can forgive him for being a little violent himself in the situation. He punches her. I think it's cathartic and funny. And then Lily Sobieski comes up. That's Sister Honey comes up, and she's like she's like that guy in like Batman that shows off his knives before he gets thrown off, or the guy in Indiana Jones that gets shot.
Yeah.
Like she suddenly seems to have like ninja training or whatever, because to take her out, he's got to give her like a swift kick in the chest. This one's pretty aggressive. He knocks her against the wall. She like faints, I guess, on her. But what I'm getting at here is when he kicks her, I'm not laughing. It's no longer comedic. Now it's violence against women, and it's like, oh, okay, well, that was maybe a little too much. But then immediately after this, Andrew, he puts on a bear costume, which is part of the festival. He takes it from Sister Beach. He puts on a bear costume, full body bear costume, big head, joins the festival, sees the young girl about to get sacrificed, runs up to the people by her side in the bear costume, bam, knocks him out in the bear costume. It's funny again. We're punching women and it's funny again. We brought it full circle. I love these 3 instances of Nic Cage.
That's the clip of this episode that's going to get us canceled. You're going to be like, hey, I'm punching women, it's funny again.
Good news! 2025! Punching women is funny again.
Oh, God. Oh, God. See
Friend of the
what you're doing to
show
us, man?
will be texting me like, I just heard something through the walls. No, I like this finale. I like where it ends up, and you probably could have guessed it was going in this way, one way or another. Especially, I assume the original ends up somewhere around this, so maybe that's Clooney in as well. But how many people are in on it? I think it might be surprising. Like, it's especially the little girl. She is fully aware of what's going to happen. You know, she's playing a part to lure him in, and it's pretty brutal. It's pretty sick. This is also the point. It's probably going to make or break a lot of people. Like, this whole movie was a big elaborate setup for this one payoff, and if you're not into the payoff, it's going to be hard to find stuff to like in the movie. But again, it worked for me. But I guess my favorite scenes are the 1, 2, 3 punch. Just in general, the manic, the way we're racing towards this.
Excellent.
I think I just agree with you that the finale is my favorite, but I just specifically wanted to call out those moments.
Well, the movie definitely gets more manic as you get towards the end. Like, obviously, the kind of the violence against Nic Cage stops being subtle and becomes more overt. Like when he goes down into that like well or whatever it is, trying to find information, and he gets trapped down there. Like the actions against him start to get become more overtly hostile, and so he starts acting more hostile in return. Like, the thing about asking when that doll was burned, it's not just now that he thinks his daughter was burned alive. He was literally like hanging on this grate all night to not drown. So like, this dude is exhausted. He's been pushed to the limit. He's being purposely messed with. And in that moment, he just goes, how to get burned? How to get burned? He finally just wants one answer.
Yeah.
Just one. He needs something. And so when people are like, and don't get me wrong, bereft of context, I understand how it's funny. But like, within the movie, I was just kind of like that was a moment where I was just kind of like, okay, yeah, that's a little ridiculous. But within the context of the film, it still wasn't like, ah ha ha, like that's this movie. I was like, no, I was just kind of like, I was definitely, my driving thought was just kind of like, this guy's been through a lot. Like he's been dealing with he's dealing with some stuff at this point. And similar, like when he's like trying to get to the radio on the plane, but the plane's out like in the bay, and he's sitting there and he thinks his dead daughter.
Oh, wait a minute.
dock.
Okay, here it is. Like, hashtag PP. This was unintentionally pretty funny to me.
So he dives under.
Go ahead.
Wait, go ahead. No, which one are you saying?
Well, the fact that it's a double fake out.
Yeah.
Feels something like something out of a scary movie.
Right, it a little bit, but like, because they do. So he goes under, and the body's there, and he freaks out, and then he wakes up on the dock, and he's like, "Ah!" And this is a little funny, I have to predict, because it's not just that it's a double fake out. So then it pans back from him like snapping awake on the dock after finding out he didn't actually swim under and get his daughter. And it pans back, and he's holding like his drowned daughter's body. And then he snaps again, and it's not just that he snaps again, it's that he goes, God damn it!
It's like, yeah. Yeah. It's like, stop messing with me, brain. Like, let me.
He's like, I did literally get a gif of the God damn it that I was going to send to you, but I never got around to it. But, all right, I will admit that one. But like, even that one, it's not funny because it's like manic over the top Cage. It's more just the circumstances of what's unfolding. The only the scenes that people point to for me within the context of the film, I was just kind of like, I don't get it. Like, I just don't like. It's like I guess I sort of understand the legacy that's kind of become of this, but like within the context of the film, none of it seems that strange to me. But yeah, I definitely like, I can understand this not being somebody's thing, especially if you're a big fan of the original. Like, 'cause the original is like a a seminal piece of film. It's it's a seminal horror film, folk horror, that type of environment. It's the walking so that stuff like Midsummer can run, but like yeah, this movie, like I just we've said it several times, but like just the legacy of this movie does not match the experience of watching.
I also think the movie looks great. Like, I don't know what it was, but like that's something I texted you. I'm like, dude, I'm watching this movie. Like, it looks gorgeous. Like, it's just not in 4K. I just watched it in HD, but it's I think it's vaguely set in the Pacific Northwest. I don't know if that's where they shot it, but like the foliage, the landscapes, the colors, you get these beautiful like blues and greens and oranges, but like the skin tones all still look natural, but you still get these pops of color like in the background of the scenery. The night scenes look awesome because they're appropriately dark but lit super well, so you can still see what's going on. Like, it's just, I literally looked up the cinematographer. I was curious like what else they had done. Nothing else I really heard of, so like I don't know if like who they roped in to do this. I don't know who the DP was, but it's just a great, just visually a great looking movie.
Yeah, like they really do go all out with that. And I think that's definitely one of the things the movie has working to its favor. They did shoot this in Vancouver, I believe, which is obviously a very scenic place. That's where a lot of, just a lot of woods, so if you're looking for forest settings, it's a pretty good place to go. But it is definitely great and well shot. And I also do want to shout out the music. The soundtrack is by Angelo Badalamenti, who is I'm certain I've talked about before, but was a known repeated collaborator with David Lynch. Scored Blue Velvet, Twin Peaks, Straight Story, Mulholland Drive. Did a great number of David Lynch films. I think the first one he did with David Lynch was Blue Velvet, but then he does Wild at Heart, Lost Highway, Straight Story, Mulholland Drive. Does a couple of his short films, and then eventually does do work on the Twin Peaks Return season 3. But just a legendary career that he's had. All over the place too. Like if you look through some of the movies he's done, it's always kind of wild when you are looking at all these David Lynch things, and then you just randomly see that he also did National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. It's what a range. But
work is work.
Hey, it is. And he's done a variety of different things, but just I think he strikes the right tone with that score here. That kind of driving, sinister edge that kind of undercuts all of it. I think that works really, really well. And adds, when you've got the good cinematography and a good score, I mean, those are going to give your movies a big boost, as it were.
This movie does something I thought was pretty smart, and I don't know if I've ever seen it in a movie before, but it seems like an elegant solution to me. Andrew, so often there's a character all alone in a scene, and they pick up a piece of paper and they read the note out loud because we, the audience, has to know what's on the piece of paper, and you kind of got to be like, they probably wouldn't be talking out loud. But the movie just has him read it in voiceover. We just hear his thoughts as he reads the note. And I was like, that totally works. Why don't all movies just do this? Like, it's not like he's been narrating this entire time. We never hear his inner voice except for when he's reading a note. I thought it was pretty good, Andrew.
And they do that repeatedly. Anytime he's reading a note, it's the only time you hear him kind of speaking in the third person, which I think is, or narrating rather, kind of a third person voice. But I like that. I do think that's good.
Yeah, good. Just wanted to give,
makes it
hashtag Positive Podcast. I want to highlight some positives here. Andrew, having never seen this, and I'm gonna assume this is original to this remake. How shocking was that car accident in the beginning?
That got me. It definitely got me. I was not ready. I had forgotten exactly what happened. So he pulls a car over. It's got a woman and a little girl in the back. She throws
her baby doll out the window. He's like, "Oh, I'll go get it." It's in the middle of the road. He walks into the middle of the road and bends over to pick it up. And I'm expecting a car to maybe not hit him, but to fly up on him, hit the brakes the last second or whatever. But instead, while he's picking up the doll, an 18-wheeler just takes out the car with a woman and her child in it behind him. Just full on, like, smashes into it. This is a big traumatic event that causes him to go on and leave. It's pretty shocking. And I gotta say something here, though. I think I've said enough nice things about this movie. I genuinely enjoy it. But I don't know if I really understand this game here. Like, couldn't his ex-fiancée just have sent him the letter? And that would have got him out there? What is happening? First of all, is that his daughter in the car? Because, again, I have a hard time keeping the characters. Like, is that just a different little girl? Is that the one he ends up looking for?
Yeah, I think it's just a different girl, and it's obviously adding to his kind of fragile mental state, because obviously the police department is investigating that wreck. Like, he's on leave from the department.
So wait,
his people are talking to him about it.
did that all, like, really happen?
Yes.
Well, no, they never find the bodies, though.
I've never read the beginning as necessarily being like part of the plan against Nic Cage. It's just
So it's a coincidence that that's. But do you think those two people are from the island?
No.
No. Oh. Huh. Okay. Maybe
They
I
weren't
was just
alive.
I was trying to read too much into
I
it.
definitely had that thought that, like, is it implied that Rowan is the girl in the car, but it's not the same girl, but I think it's just adding to, like, his desire to be like, I need to correct this wrong.
I saved the
where
girl I
got
couldn't
these
save
people
before.
Killed, so save the
Mm.
girl I can't save. Yeah, that sort of thing.
Okay. I got it. I really like the way, I've said, like, everyone on the island kind of talks in circles. It is intentionally misleading. Sister Rose, he asked her, "Hey, how'd she die?" Because she, like, admits that the girl he's looking for has died. And she just says, "She'll burn to death." And he's like, "Oh, what'd you say?"
What?
She said exactly what I meant to say. She burned to death. And, like, we, along with Nic Cage, are like, wait, did I hear it wrong? Is that what she said? But she intentionally said it the way she said it, exactly what she means. And then, Lily Sobieski, there's a scene where he walks up to her while she's splitting firewood, by the way. I guess a little foreshadowing that she's got some physical skills. In that scene where she's splitting firewood, I was not reminded of Chris Evans splitting firewood with his bare hands in the Avengers. You know why I was not reminded, Andrew? Because I was already thinking about that scene. Because I'm thinking about that scene every minute of every day, Andrew. Just that gray t-shirt, just ripping them apart.
Why wouldn't you, man?
Joking aside, is it the best scene of Age of Ultron at the farm?
Yeah, probably.
This gotta be number one, right?
Maybe Ultron's reveal, like when he comes out as like the
The puppet with the
like
Pinocchio song?
the creepy old thing. Yeah.
Hmm.
Pretty good.
Okay. All right. So she's splitting wood, and he walks up and he says, "Hey, what's happening the day of tomorrow?" And she looks at him confused, and he's like, "Oh, I guess I mean the day after tomorrow. Sorry, I thought it was just like how you guys speak over here." And she's like, "Nothing's happening the day after tomorrow." And he goes, "Oh, I mean, what's happening tomorrow?" And she's like, "Oh, I already explained that." And he looks confused, and he's like, "You did?" And again, it's kind of, we, the audience, and Nic Cage are one. Like, we're recounting everything that was said in our head, and it's like, oh, did I get confused? Was there more information revealed than not? And the answer is not. But again, I like the putting us in his shoes in such a literal way, where we are doing what he's doing in his brain and, like, retracing the words and trying to make sense of it and get ahead of it, and things aren't adding up, and it's fun. I don't know. It's pretty effective.
It's a fun way to approach that idea of an unreliable narrator, because when you're telling things in a visual medium, it can be a little difficult to do the unreliable narrator at times. Because when you have to show things, it's difficult to show it wrong and not mislead the audience. There's a book I read once, and I love this book. It's called The Decagon House Murders. And it's from a series of books by this Japanese murder mystery author that are all set in these strange houses. The kind of running theme through several of the books is that these buildings are all built by the same like eccentric architect. Now, I don't know if that eccentric architect features in the later books because they haven't translated them that far yet. So I'm trapped by the confines of my own language. But there's a twist in the Decagon House Murders that I'm going to share. That if you aren't interested in knowing, I would suggest skipping ahead. But it's a twist that I feel that I was curious how you would portray in a visual medium. And the thing is throughout this book, you have two things going on. You have a bunch of people on this island, and then you have a bunch of people off the island. The people off the island have assumed something has happened to the group on the island and are trying to figure out how to get there and investigate it and figure out what's going on. And then you have the group on the island that is slowly being picked off, and then there were none style. What is ultimately revealed is that one of the people in the group on the island and one of the people in the group off the island are the same person.
Okay,
now,
it's the I know what you did last summer problem.
Yes, it's the exact same problem. Basically, you have two people that you would need to visually represent in two different groups that are the same person. And so the question is, how do you portray that in a visual medium? Like, how do you... The only thing that I can come up with, and I probably said this when we talked about I Know What You Did Last Summer, is that you just simply don't hide it. And it just becomes your source of tension throughout the film that these two people are the same and nobody realizes it. Like,
that would be dramatic
realize
irony when the audience knows something
Yes,
that the characters do not.
So, I don't know why I started talking about this. Because I was talking about how difficult it could be to portray unreliable narrators, because part of the crux of this is that you have to, like, the character off the island and the character on the island are not included or portrayed as being the same person in any regard. So you would basically just you could have like an immediate reveal, and then you would just need it to be this driving source of tension. But yeah,
that's probably the only way you do it that doesn't piss the audience off. Because like if you just cast two different people, like you have like one story being told is like someone telling the story, and then it's visualized, and then it's recast with there's just no satisfying way to do it. I think you're just open about it.
Because if you cast like two different people and then the ultimate reveal is, haha, they were always the same person, like, it's like, well, okay, but like,
have you seen?
My exact response would be like, okay, guy, like, whatever.
I've probably asked you this before. Have you seen The Machinist with Christian Bale?
Once upon a time.
Well, they approach this problem.
Yeah, you're right, they do. I should rewatch that one. I haven't done it in a while. Anyway, you don't have that problem here, because The Wicker Man is not a story where two people are revealed to be the same. But you do have unreliable narrators, but I think the way the movie approaches this, by creating that purposely confusing language that is then being passed on to the audience, you're making them not just unreliable to Nic Cage, but you are also just leaving the audience in the dark too, because there's nothing that like we know that we haven't been given information that Nic Cage hasn't, so they keep that confusion in the forefront by confusing us as well, in a way.
Andrew, I enjoyed this movie, and in the finale, he's in the titular Wicker Man. It's on fire. The head falls off. It hits the camera to cut to black. And then it says, dedicated to Johnny Ramone. And I was like,
What?
What?
I had that exact moment of like, wait, hold up. What?
I Googled it, and apparently the reasoning is because him and Nic Cage were good friends. And Nic Cage is the star of this movie, and his production team produced it. So it's this, I guess, the first movie he made after Johnny passed, and he wanted to put that in there. No other connection beyond that, but there you go.
All right.
But right after that, it also says, based on The Wicker Man, and it gives like the credentials of the 70s film. And I thought that was pretty cool too. I'm not sure if I've ever seen that before. Like the end of The Ring, I don't think it says based on The Ring, like the Japanese Ring. Like, I don't know if I've ever seen a remake just kind of acknowledge.
No, and then it acknowledges not just The Wicker Man, and I think it acknowledges both Anthony Schafer and the director Robin Hardy. And then it also mentions Ritual by Dave Pinner, which is what it's based off as well. So it's it was interesting to see that. Because like I said, because The Ring is another. It's another situation where it's an American remake of a Japanese movie based off a Japanese book. So like you could, there's several layers you could do with like an American remake of The Ring, but I guess they're just banking that no one's going to look that hard. But guessed wrong, boys. It was an interesting thing to see that. And I always like it when they put those credentials right up front. Like one of the ones that always jumps out to me is Dredd, the 2012 film. I'm pretty sure the first credit in the credits is Judge Dredd, created by John Wagner and Carlos Guerra. I think that's who created Dredd. Don't make me look like a fool now.
Well, Andrew, Sylvester Stallone's Judge Dredd has the Dredd comics in the opening credits, so they get to it even faster. Superior film?
Do they credit John Wagner by name?
Now that I don't remember, Andrew. I guess I got to rewatch it.
I'm pretty sure the first title credit of the Dredd credits is Judge Dredd, created by John Wagner and Carlos Esquera. I think. He said, unsure. But you just like to see creatives get their due diligence, especially in an era where it feels like less and less of them are getting acknowledged. It can just be kind of a frustrating thing.
And that's it, Andrew. That's a wrap. That's the end of Nic Cage month. I mean, he made out like a bandit with Mark Strong awards. Is he the most Mark Strong awards now? Winningest on maybe. I mean, there's no way to check, but he got one every week from at least one of us, so that's 5. And
probably doubled up some of those weeks. Like Vampire's Kiss, I know he definitely got 2.
Yeah. Do we count that as 2 if we both give it to him? I don't think so.
People, so yeah.
I guess we are. But it's for the same performance.
Because if we give them the different people, that's 2 awards, right?
Yeah, because it's 2 different performances.
So why wouldn't? Well, yeah, but if both of us are acknowledging, it's not. The awards are not based on the people; they're based on the person giving them, right?
But it's not the Andrew Williams Mark Strong Award and the Chris Logan Mark Strong Award. It's the Mark Strong. We are over 200 episodes in. We can't change it now, Andrew. I've always seen it. If we agree on the Mark Strong Award, we're only giving out 1 Mark Strong Award that week. And if we have different people, then give it out to you. That's the canon in my head for the past 12 years. Been doing this podcast.
I don't care enough to argue. Like whatever.
Yeah, that was fun. I was a little worried about going to a month based around one actor and talking about them week after week. But like I said, I think pretty early on, like if there's anybody you can do it with, Nic Cage is a good one because there's a lot of variety in that filmography and in those performances and a lot to choose from. I mean, there's more Nic Cage movies we could do in the future. I doubt we'll do a Nic Cage month full blown again, but I'm sure we will talk about Nic Cage on future episodes. But for now, Andrew, it's time for a segment that we call Ask Andrew, where I ask you a question and you got to answer it. That's the way it works. Sometimes I get some help from listeners, and if you want to suggest anything for Ask Andrew, you can do so in our Discord. If you haven't done so already, join us. There's a link in the show notes. What are you waiting for? And Mike Lynch, he has a question for you, Andrew. He says, with Rian Johnson rejuvenating the form with Benoit Blanc in Poker Face and Kenneth Branagh's Poirot film series.
Poirot.
Look, I've edited this thing. People don't know that I just took 10 tries at that sentence. Kidding, yeah. Poirot film series, is that right? Poirot film series, still quietly making money.
Power past it. Just power past it.
Qui-Gon Jinn? What concept or filmmaker would you be excited to see next in the detective universe? The DU, the detective verse. He's workshopping names for next detective thing. All right. So you love detective stories, murder mysteries. You love the format. These are some great examples for some current hits that are out there. I don't know if we got a chance to talk about Poker Face on this podcast, but it's wonderful. Season 2 coming soon. Can't wait.
Can't wait.
All right. So what concept
the question's
or
basically
filmmaker?
like what next? Like what next, essentially?
Yeah.
Like,
Is there a certain
within the realm
filmmaker
of-
you want to see work in this genre, or do you have a concept you'd love to see explored?
Well, so first off, great question. Definitely right up my alley.
Yeah, really
That's
pandering
my
to the
push.
to the Andrew here.
Yeah, it's almost like this question was designed just for me. Can't imagine why that would have happened. But so first off, I love the Benoit Blanc stuff. Obviously, he's playing just the gentleman detective, which is a version of Poirot. They're playing him a little bit differently. Like Poirot is obviously a very different type of character, and even Kenneth Branagh is kind of playing him against type in a lot of ways. But he's playing in that realm. Like, and it's so interesting to me that people get like kind of weirded out by like the people be like, oh, why are they making more Knives Out? I don't understand. And it's like serial detective stories are like a hallmark of fiction. They have been forever, for like 100 years now, 100 plus years. So I love that Rian Johnson is out there doing the Benoit Blanc stuff. Obviously, the Benoit Blanc stuff pulls its influences from a lot of places. Obviously, there's Agatha Christie influences. There's he's acknowledged a lot of these movies like The Last of Sheila. Putting this all on kind of display, obviously with something like Poker Face, that's living in like the Columbo model, which is kind of not so much who done it. It's more of like they call it a how catch 'em, which is where we see the murder, and then the question is are they going to be able to catch up to it? Which was kind of like Columbo was. The first 20 minutes of Columbo was usually the murder being committed. And then the rest was Columbo trying to figure it out. Just one more thing. But as far as what I'd like to see next, I will say this. I don't know that Kenneth Branagh is doing any more Poirot movies. If he were to do more, I would really like him to really go hard off the path. Because the three he's done, Murder on the Orient Express, and of the first two, Murder on the Orient Express and Death on the Nile, both have been adapted in like all-star big budget productions before in the 70s. Featuring Albert Finney was Poirot in one of them, and Death on the Nile, I don't remember if that was that might have been Peter Ustinov who did that one. But I would like him to do something wildly off the path, because the third one he did, Haunting in Venice, uses aspects of another book called Halloween Party as its kind of setting, but it's a whole different kind of thing. And I didn't mind that. I didn't mind kind of doing its own thing. But if he were to do another one, I would like him to really take something a little bit different. I got them all up there, but there's a bunch I really like that they just haven't done a whole lot with. So I'd like him to kind of take an obscure one and potentially pull that forward. As far as outside of that, the things I'd like to see, obviously, I think there's plenty of filmmakers that could do like the type of thing that we're talking about. Like if, Guillermo del Toro wanted to do like a Victorian set, murder mystery featuring Tom Hiddleston in the lead, I certainly wouldn't have a problem with that. Kind of taking it back to like a Sherlock Holmes-esque setting, but not really doing Sherlock Holmes, because Sherlock Holmes is another one where it's like we've kind of done that. I don't really feel the need to go back.
Andrew, you're not
as
going to
far
believe
as
this.
What?
Guillermo del Toro has made a Victorian era movie starring Tom Hiddleston.
That's the joke, Chris.
Okay. I mean, I was playing along with you. Come on.
I just also want them to do a murder mystery now. Recently, I've been trying to get into a lot of Japanese murder mysteries. I mentioned it on the store. Those books. Great pick of this question, given that I talked about this mystery novel before. There's a bunch of different Japanese detectives that I certainly wouldn't mind getting some higher profile chances that maybe don't feature white guys trying to play them, which often happened in Hollywood in the 60s and the 50s. But also there's a lot of mystery novels that I think just haven't gotten a lot of big screen attention. Ellery Queen, there's a long series of Ellery Queen novels. They did a television show that was like the Ellery Queen Mystery Hour, where the whole kind of premise of that was they'd like stop right at the end and like tell you, they'd be like, you have all the clues necessary to solve this mystery. So they would kind of ask the audience, like, what do you think? And then they would do the big reveal. There's another mystery author I love. Her name is Mary Roberts Reinhardt. She doesn't quite get as much attention as Agatha Christie does. Hold on, I'm looking back at my bookshelf here. I got one here called The Wall. That's kind of seen by many as like one of
right
her
there?
opuses.
I'm pointing to it. That's the wall, brother.
Yes. Exactly. That's the wall, brother. But so she's got one called The Wall. She's got another one called The Album. These are like some of the like just seen as classic murder mysteries. I wouldn't mind somebody taking a big screen adaptation at those. Those might be something that Del Toro is good for. But seeing like an Ellery Queen, another chance at even if you want to kind of flip it and do it like with Elementary and do like a modern setting of like an Ellery Queen, I think you could have a lot of fun with that. As far as specific filmmakers, obviously Del Toro comes to mind just because he loves his like Gothic era Victorian stuff. But trying to think if like there's another filmmaker that I think would be really good. There was a little bit of a there was a murder mystery that came out a couple years ago called See How They Run that starred Sam Rockwell and Saoirse Ronan, and I really, really liked it. I don't think there's any intentions to do more of those, but I certainly wouldn't have had a problem if they had wanted to make, a murder mystery series with Sam Rockwell. I think the world would be better for it. Powers that be. As far as specific filmmakers, like Del Toro comes to mind. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else that like I think would be really, really good for it. And I mean, nobody's coming to mind, but some visual flair. If Ryan Coogler wanted to make a murder mystery starring Michael B. Jordan, I'd be fine with that. Puts him in all of his movies. I assume
just those two in any genre. I mean, like
any genre,
you gotta have
any
something.
era, any genre, anything. It's going to be good. And murder mysteries are kind of making a comeback. So, and like, if you're interested in this, I suggest like you can look at like BritBox or Acorn TV because like BBC is like routinely pumping out Agatha Christie adaptations beyond Poirot stuff. Obviously, there was a very long-running Poirot series starring David Suchet, where he played Poirot, and I think he got all of them. I think he got every single book and story, at least every single book. He was able to make a Poirot version of every single book over the course of like 30 years. It took a very long time, but he genuinely was able to do it. So if you want to watch Poirot stories, most of those are pretty good. I actually think one of the weird missteps he has is Murder on the Orient Express. But they've been doing a lot of different ones. A lot of stuff like Towards Zero. They did like a standalone version of the ABC Murders, which is a Poirot, but they had John Malkovich play Poirot. So if you're interested in just the Agatha Christie style, there's a lot out there. If you get like, it's on Amazon. I just added through Amazon. It's called BritBox or Acorn TV. You're getting a lot of those in there, and they're very, very good. High-class productions, a lot of attention to care. There's a really good adaptation of And Then There Were None that has Sam Neill and Charles Dance and a whole bunch of others in it that's very, very good. But as far as going forward, I think what I'd really like to see the most would be, like if Guillermo del Toro was going to make an adaptation of The Wall or The Album, I think that would be a recipe for success. Seeing Mary Roberts Reinhardt kind of get that bump. Those are
Not to be
classic
confused
novels.
with Pink Floyd's The Wall, the album.
Yes. Anyway, that'd probably be where I go. I would look to Mary Roberts Reinhardt. I think she doesn't quite get the attention that Agatha Christie does, but her stuff is excellent. So,
and look, as long
as
Ryan Johnson just alternates between a Benoit Blanc movie and another season of Poker Face, back and forth until he dies, I think we'll all be pretty well.
I think, yeah. I think his last three movies will all be the Benoit Blanc movies in a row, won't they? And then, yeah, obviously Poker Face in between. So, I would have zero problem with that. Just murder mysteries forever, man. What I love.
Thanks for the question. Again, join that Discord if you want to suggest future questions for Ask Andrew. And next week begins a whole new month, which is a whole new theme, a whole new lineup. And if you want to know what that is, again, join our Discord. That's where all the info is. Help us decide what movies we pick. And if you want to suggest themes and stuff, you can do all that there in the Discord, in the community. So come and join us. And just until then, until next week, remember that maybe not every movie is great.
But all movies have greatness.
Thank you to Mark Benavides for singing our theme song. You can check him out on Instagram at NotThatMarkAnthony. And thanks to Mitch for the music. You can check him out on Twitter at I'm the Biggie Boy. Check our show notes for that SoundCloud link. Check out our store on TeePublic for some best of the rest merch. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend. It's the only way that we grow. Follow us on social media at BOTRcast. Thank you. With Ryan Johnson rejuvenating the form with Benoit Blanc in Poker Face and Kenneth Branagh's I should probably make sure I can pronounce his name before I attempt this sentence. Kenneth Branagh, is that right? And Kenneth Branagh's Poirot film series.
So you have to have all these different pieces playing together, and obviously she is up to that task at every turn. And so in that regard, I break. It was 4 out of 4 for Cage before this. I'm breaking on the 5th week in the month of Cage to go with Sister Summer Isle, Ellen Burstyn, Mark Strong of 2006's The Wicker Man.
Previously on Best of the Rest.
I'm pretty sure I'm 4 for 4, I'm 3 for 3 now.
There it is.
Giving Nic Cage the Mark Strong of this. But I feel like I got to go with my gut here, and I will be giving it to Nicholas Hoult as Robert Montague Renfield.